headaches, began talking to himself, quarreled with the members of his band, and worried constantly that other musicians' innovations would overshadow his own. He seemed frightened of everything, even his cornet. In September of 1906, he set out to play in another parade, just as he had done for years. But somewhere along the way, he abruptly walked away from the other marchers. His mother did what she could to calm his fears, but nothing seemed to help. 6 months later, she was forced to call the police, afraid her son would hurt her or himself. Buddy Bolden, the man who had led the first jazz band, would never play his horn in public again. He would spend the rest of his life in the Louisiana State Insane Asylum at Jackson.
When you hear Jelly Roll Morton singing Stars and Stripes Forever, he said, I think the way he did it, something like he says that they, instead of saying, do dee da do dee da do dee, he said, they said, do that's it. That's it. When you hear that, you know what that is. Every group of people has figured out something that defangs the wolf at the door, as it were. You know, the Irish have their way of doing it, the Russians do it another way, Chinese do it their way, Jews got their way of doing it. See, that Negro, though, there's something about the idea that, well, here we are, what choice do we have? Well, we can sit up and say, boy, these white folks sure is doing some terrible mistake. Or we can say, you know, you got a choice.
I wanted to marry and raise a family and be known as a man among men. So I studied other instruments. Until one day I saw a gentleman play a very good piece of ragtime. And I decided then that the instrument was good for a gentleman, same as it was for a lady. Jelly Roll Morton.
His music has the flavor of New Orleans in it. He was aware of everything that was going on around him. He took the feeling of what Buddy Bolden brought to the music, and he put that in his music. And he put the sound of the street vendors. Got your watermelon, 25 to ride, you know, whatever they would say, he'd have all that in there. And even though he was a Creole, unlike a lot of Creoles who would be dicty, he wasn't that type of person. He was attracted to the nightlife. And they always say, you know, the night people out to get the day people. And that's how he was. He was a night person.
Jelly Roll Morton was born Ferdinand Joseph Lamoth in New Orleans in 1890. And he claimed that all my folks came directly from the shores of France. But he was really the son of an unwed Creole mother who traced her ancestry back only as far as Haiti. He was raised for a time by his conservative great-grandmother, who favored the formality and tradition of French opera. But her great-grandson had something altogether different in mind.
That's Chris.
Morton was only a teenager when he secretly took a job playing for whores and their free-spending clients in Storyville.
So he loved being in the sporting houses. He loved being in the clubs. He loved being around the rough house people. He loved to pull his knife out. He loved to talk. Yeah, and he loved to play the funerals and the parades and singing. That's what he liked to do.
He told his great-grandmother that he couldn't come home at night because he was working as a night watchman.
Well, you know, Jelly Roll told his grandmama that he was a night watchman, and he wasn't lying. But
He was
didn't
watching
tell her
all
what he
night
was
long.
watching.
Woo!
He
Yeah!
worked in these houses of prostitution. He had the best seat in the house. They had little people, and he would play to the choreography of the prostitute. And he would get tips based on how successful he was. So if he really came up with something hip, when he do a little twist or turn there, they'd give him a little extra money.
Morton quickly became an exceptional piano player, effortlessly blending ragtime, minstrelsy, and the blues into a new, complex, improvised hybrid. No one thought more highly of Morton than he did. I'm the master, he'd like to say. Anything you play on your horn, you're playing Jelly Roll. And in later years, he happily told anyone willing to listen that he had in fact invented jazz. He hadn't. But he did write a host of tunes that would become jazz standards. And he was the first to put his compositions down on paper.
Oh, Jelly Roll.
Some of his music incorporated habanera dance rhythms from the Caribbean, which he called the Spanish tinge. Without that beat, he said, you don't have the right seasoning for jazz.
That's right.
Morton became an all-around entertainer. He played piano, he sang, he danced, and insisted that everyone call him by the distinctive nickname he'd adopted.
It's a description of a certain kind of erotic motion. You know, in other words, Jelly Roll means exactly the kind of erotic motion and pressure that you would prefer above all others. So that's what that means.
In New Orleans, Louisiana town, there's a finest bar for many miles. A person is so. He's calling Jersey, he's a lady fancy. Everybody knows and certainly do it.
Morton's great-grandmother eventually got wind of where he was working and threw him out of the house forever. He took to the road at 17 and never again left it for long. Morton traveled everywhere: Memphis, Chicago, New York, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, and Los Angeles. To support himself, he blacked up and performed as a vaudeville comic, gambled at cards, puzzled pool, pimped, and peddled a cure for consumption door to door, a sticky sweet elixir made up of salt and Coca-Cola. But he also continued to play the piano. As a result, everywhere Jelly Roll Morton went, his music went too.
When you see it going, everybody up and down. It's really nice stuff. Places you can't get enough. Play it soft all of you. Play the Jelly Roll
Why is the jazz music, and therefore the jazz band,